Can I play the flute when my hands are frozen? This is the question today. I'm Rebecca Fuller, the expert and instructor here at LearnFluteOnline.com. Let's get started.
You can do it, and Rebecca will show you how, step by step all along the way. Introducing the Learn Flute Podcast.
Well, I'm really happy to see you here, eager to learn something new again, all about the subject of learning to play the flute. Now, as you already know, I not only think this is one of the greatest instruments ever, but I've made it my mission to help the good people of this world who are interested in learning to play the flute. I help you learn how to play in an easy, organized, positive, and extremely convenient fashion here online. I've had years and years of training from some of the greatest flute teachers in the world, and lucky for you that I'm here to pass the information on to you. So with that note, let's have a quick discussion about playing the flute when our hands are frozen. Now, if you don't know this about me, I live at the very top of Utah, which is a very cold part of the United States. In fact, the year we built our house here, the temperatures were down 30 degrees below zero. This is 30 degrees below zero Fahrenheit, and it's true. In fact, I think it was closer to 40 degrees below, and that is some of the very coldest temperatures in the state. Now, the plus side of all of this is that we have a lot of snow, and I get to ski a lot and ice skate, and my kids really like to play hockey, and basically we have found a plethora of winter sports that make it extremely fun to live here. Now, on the downside, there are certain things we just cannot do in the winter, and that entails about 6 months of the year, and one of them is playing our instruments outside, especially the flute. Now, I have to tell you a quick story about when I was booked to play with my Irish band at a celebration for the opening of the Winter Olympics in the year 2002 here in Utah, down in Salt Lake City. We arrived at the designated place to find that the temperatures had dipped to 20 degrees below zero Fahrenheit, and that the venue was outdoors. Oh goodness, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with my flute. Now, some instruments lend themselves to being okay outside in these types of temperatures, but the flute is not one of them. So if you can imagine something with me for a minute, think about this. If you take a metal tube and freeze it below zero, like way below, and then suddenly blow hot, moist air into it, guess what happens? Yep, it could crack. And that's not really a fun thing to think about for your beautiful instrument and, that you've spent a lot of time and money on. So this posed a lot of challenges for us for sure. We had to get a whole bunch of outdoor heating elements and put them directly over our places where we were going to stand in our band while we were playing to keep the temperatures above zero. We were going to be on TV and they were recording it, and it just felt crazy. I also had to wear gloves to keep my hands from getting frostbite. So in order to get my fingertips over the holes on my flute keys and also on my Irish whistle, I had to cut little slits in the tips of the fingers of the gloves so that my skin could barely poke through. And surprisingly enough, I played pretty great. I just had to get kind of creative. So now this little story just illustrates what would happen if you had to play your instrument outdoors in these types of temperatures. Well, I really don't suggest it if it at all can be helped. But what happens when your hands are just freezing even indoors and you have to play your flute? Let's talk about that. I have found a few different techniques that really have helped me a ton. Now, the first thing I do when my hands are cold, they feel creaky or achy, is that I run them under tap water, like tap warm water. I turn it on, let it get warm or even close to hot for a couple of minutes at least. And this is probably the very best and common technique for warming up some hands before you have to play your instrument. And this just gets those muscles warm and, it happens pretty quickly. You can do it pretty well. It may not stay unless you keep it under the water for a longer amount of time. And if you wiggle your joints and knuckles while you're running your hands under the water, then you'll find that those squeaky creakies start going away and it'll be easier to play your instrument. Now, if it's not possible to get to a tap of warm water, then you'll have to get really creative. Of course, you can sit on your hands. I do that often. And I personally benefit from crossing my arms. I'm doing it right now just as I'm talking to you. You can picture this. Crossing my arms, folding them across each other and putting my fingertips or even my whole hand under my armpits. Now, if you're in a performance type of situation, it's probably pretty warm under there, and it will do the trick within, it'll probably take at least 10 minutes or so before you can play your flute really well without feeling like you're being hindered by creaky, achy, freezing fingers. Now, I don't blow into my hands with my breath when I need to get them warm before playing the flute, because the moisture in my breath gets on my fingers and makes them kind of sticky, which doesn't work very well for playing the flute quickly. That is when the notes are they have to be played very fast. And so I just personally like to have dry fingers. Oh goodness, the funny things we have to talk about when we play the flute. If you have a technique that works quickly and really well for warming your hands before playing your instrument, you really should leave a comment here on this episode and help us all out. I know we people will do anything in a pinch of a situation. It really helps to have all of you flute friends here, and we should learn to put our heads together and come up with solutions that can benefit everyone. I hope you've had time this week to come into the LearnFluteOnline.com website and take a lesson inside either the silver level, the gold level, or the intermediate level. And perhaps some of you are starting to get ready to go into an advanced level as well. How exciting. If you have any questions or comments, leave them here along with writing to let me know how you like this podcast. I'm doing this for you, so any and all feedback is definitely welcome. Well, that's it for today. I hope you have a beautiful week and can bless either your life or someone else's with the gift of music. Bye now.
Thanks for listening today. Remember that this is where people of all ages, such as you, can come, learn, and play the musical instrument flute in an easy-to-follow, organized manner, and in the privacy and comfort of your own home, on your own schedule.